Alright, Schlockmeisters fans are going to see something I've never seen before. Also known as Delusion, the box says the house where death lives. Let's check it out.
Your father. Although it's been nearly 15 years since we had any contact, I feel I must write you now to tell you that Mother is dead.
The only one we see is Meredith, and she is telling a story as she's writing a letter to her father about a job that she had recently as a caretaker.
By my shoulders.
Joseph Cotton is her patient. She's caring for him in his mansion. He plays Ivar Langrock. Invalid. So she moves in.
Will that be all, miss?
Philip, who's in that room? I saw someone at the window when I came in.
Well, that room's been locked for years. It must have been a reflection.
Philip.
It's shut down.
I'm dirty.
And then she meets Jeffrey. He's Mr.
The old man doesn't scare you?
Langrock.
Oh, no.
Langrock's attorney.
It's not Langrock who's scary, it's those kids.
This is the second son that Mr. Langrock has lost.
Well, she uses her free time in the evening to roam around the place, and she finds a room filled with a bunch of scribbles. And she finds the painter. It's Winifred, some goofy son of Mr. Langrock.
Tell me about your grandson.
Gabriel. You know
We learn about
almost
Gabriel.
as much about him as I do. I've never even seen him. There hasn't been a boy in this house since Gabriel.
He's home.
How do you do?
I've lost my parents.
I'm sorry.
Why do you keep Wilfred locked in that room? He hasn't done anything wrong, has he? I don't think it's fair. Grandfather says he can be violent, but he hasn't been that way with me. You've been in that room?
Would it please you to have your mother here where you could be close to her?
I'm sure that would be impossible.
He invites her to
Money
bring
makes
her mother
almost
here.
anything possible.
As they discuss her mother moving in, they come across the family pet. Or it's a dog, maybe it's not the pet, I don't know. She has a dream about Gabriel. I think she fancies him. But she picnics with Jeffrey.
I've been trying to contact him about your mother.
What do you know about my mother?
Just what you told Langrock. He wants to have her moved to Fairlawn.
What happened?
Just bureaucracy and incompetence.
Well, here's Winifred and his scribblings. And this is where our murders begin. 50 minutes into it. Whoever murdered him then dumps him out the window.
If only I'd spoken up right there and then. If I had told them about the dog and the trap. I could have confided in Jeffrey and it would have all come out. But I couldn't.
Can't show you the nude scene here, obviously, but Gabriel bursts in and surprises her.
What are you doing here? Gabriel, get out!
This whole house against me. You think I killed him?
No.
And the dog?
No.
Say it!
No,
Say it!
No!
Say it!
Yes!
Philip's in the wine center when suddenly someone tips him. Speaking with Jeffrey.
They are accidents.
They're not accidents. Gabriel. Look at anyone. You want me to go?
Is there a romance here brewing too?
I think so.
There is a detective hanging around talking to the gardener, Alex.
Yeah, you cleaned up the cellar real nice and neat, though, didn't you? Couldn't find anything down there if I wanted to.
kind of hinting that Alex did it, but it ain't Alex. And it ain't the detective either. Later on, Meredith is poking around and finds a bloody table leg, I think it is, which we've seen as a murder weapon. Finds it in a closet. That's not all she finds in the closet. It's Gabriel.
Tell me I won't tell.
Jeffrey shows up.
Please. What are you going to do to me?
Meredith, what are you talking about? I didn't kill those people. You know who killed them. You killed them. Your mother was never a psychiatric patient at Laurel State Hospital.
He came from the hospital.
Oh, don't change the truth.
Your mother died 26 years ago in childbirth.
No. My mother.
Is dead. She died 26 years ago in childbirth.
No.
It was you who were raped by your father.
Well, now we know that Meredith's the true killer. And she's got at least one more victim in her. She goes in to kill Mr. Langrock, but surprise, surprise.
Perhaps next month, maybe next year, to go back to Fairlawn.
Our movie ends with her locked up. All right, let's talk about this movie, The House Where Death Lives. You know what? Let's not. Let's take off the slipcover here. And we'll call it Delusion, because this is what it's always been known as in this country. Anyway, House Where Death Lives was a UK VHS title. It was released on VHS in this country as Delusion. The on-screen title of this movie says Delusion. Everything says Delusion except the goddamn box. So anyway, this is Delusion. So I don't know why they put that UK slipcover on there, and they even advertise it, Vinegar Syndrome does, as House Where Death Lives. But whatever, I love Vinegar Syndrome, so I will give them a pass. So anyway, came out in 1981. It's a American horror movie, 80s horror movie. I'd never seen this before. I'd never come across it in my travels back in the days. Didn't show up on cable as far as I know. It was just a couple of video stores. That's it. I never had it. So anyway, it starts out this woman's writing a letter to her father. And then it's kind of, and then she goes into a story, and then we see that story played out. It's about how this woman named Meredith, played by, what's her name? Something Piercy, something like that. Meredith Stone, I don't know, whatever. But she gets this job as a caretaker for an old man played by Joseph Cotton. His name is Ivar Langford or something like that. She goes to live in his mansion, and there's some kooky characters there, including a goofy son named Winifred, something like that. I don't know what his problem is, but he's got problems. And then there's a grandson named Gabriel who's poking around as well. It's a slow burn of a type of film. There's not a lot that happens for a lot of the film. But it's kind of a creepy old house, and some mysterious things happen. And then all of a sudden, people start dying. It's a mysterious killer. We don't know who it is, but we see people get bashed with like a table leg or something like that. We see one guy get bashed and then dumped out of a window. Meredith is creeped out by a lot of what's going on, but she still takes care of Mr. Langford there. And she takes a fancy to this guy named Jeffrey, who's an attorney. He's an attorney for Mr. Langford. And they kind of hit it off a little bit. At one point, Mr. Langford offers Meredith, hey, why don't you have your mother come stay here? Her mother's like apparently in a home or something, I don't know. And she's old, so he invites her. So Jeffrey looks into it to see if maybe we can ship her out over here, because Meredith seems to be on board with that. Anyway, more people start dying, There's maybe 5 or 6 bodies pile up at this point. And at one point near the end of the film, Meredith is poking around in a bedroom, and she finds this bloody table leg. She's like, oh, that's a problem. There's a weapon. And then she goes back in the closet later and finds Gabriel's body in there. So he's dead too. And then she freaks out. And then Jeffrey, the attorney, shows up, and he looks like something's bugging him. So he confronts Meredith and basically says, you know what? I looked into your matter and your mother. Your mother died in childbirth 26 years ago, giving birth to you, dummy. And your father assaulted you when you were a kid, and I guess that drove you insane because you're the one who's been locked up in a mental institution for 6 years or something like that. And I guess I'm not even sure how she got out. Maybe she got out because he thought she was okay, and she got this job as a caretaker. I don't know, but she freaks out in the room there, denies it all, but then she gets a hold of the table leg and smashes Jeffrey with it, presumably killing him. Then she goes into Mr. Langford's room, Ivar, and thinks she's attacking him like under the covers or something, but then he comes out from behind a curtain, and he's in a wheelchair, but he was kind of propped himself up, and then he bashes her, knocks her out. And then the last scene we see in the movie is she's finishing up the letter to her father. Then we back up a little bit and we see that she's behind a cage. She's back in the institution. That is Delusion, otherwise known as, in the UK anyway, The House Where Death Lives. Now, again, I'd never seen this movie before. I knew nothing about it. Read some IMDb reviews about it from some people who thought it was kind of a slow film, not very tedious, not a lot happened. And I got to agree with that until we're about halfway through the film before a lot of action started happening. So I didn't show as many scenes in this movie as I did because there was a lot of times nothing was happening. It was just a lot of nonsense and bullshit. But anyway, the movie itself, yeah, other than that long, slow burn where nothing's happening, it's okay. You know, there's a few gore scenes in it. A couple of nude scenes from Meredith, the actress who plays her, his name, my eyes can't even focus anymore to see who that is. Here we go, Patricia Piercy. There you go, from Squirm. She was in that movie as well. So anyway, she's done very little else. She did like an episode of Little House on the Prairie, Cockfighter, that movie with Warren Oates. She was in that too. And then she just kind of disappeared. She hasn't done much in decades. So that's pretty much, I think she had 13 entries on IMDb, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, that's Delusion. Yeah, it's an okay film. Vinegar Syndrome put this out, and I got to give them credit here, too, because, man, does this thing look beautiful. They really cleaned this thing up, and it looks fantastic. Again, I don't know what it looked like prior to this, but it could not have looked as good as this does. This looks great. So anyway, kudos to Vinegar Syndrome for that. They're one of the best boutique companies out there. So, again, I wish they would have just called it Delusion and had Delusion on this slipcover box, but whatever. Anyway, thank you, Vinegar Syndrome. Let me know if you think about this. Let me know what you think about this movie, Delusion. If you've seen it, leave some comments down below. I will leave a link to something down below to buy this as well. Check it out. Leave some comments. Watch it. Bye. Delusion. Just Delusion.